Good morning. Hey, Vicky, good to see you. Dad, first on this morning. Good to see you, Dad. What's up, Rick? Good to see you. Awesome. All right, guys. Today, what we're going to do, we're going to have our 30-minute lesson, and we'll probably be right at 30 minutes today. I've got something have to do today at work. So, a couple of things. We're going to sit on this voicing here, this first block. We're actually going to work on it, and also we're going to transpose it into the key of F. And we're also going to talk about a few scales as it relates to improvising. Good to see you, Doug. Awesome. Our first ever YouTube subscriber who joined our membership on YouTube. Awesome. Good to see you, Doug. All right. Let's dig in. All right, so how's everybody doing with your voicings? The first one, remember, is our D minor 11. Just what a beautiful voicing that is just by itself. You have a minor triad with our major triad. And this is really important because we're going to transpose this in F, and in the chord formulas that we have that go with this chord block, you have D minor 11, which shows the root, the flat third, the fifth, the flat 7, the 9, and the 11 of D. So we have to know our D major scale. I'll let you guys say hello to each other, and just kind of getting started early this morning. So notice that whenever we're playing D minor triad, you think a whole step lower and put a C major with that. It sounds great. And anytime you can roll or slide your black notes to your white notes, it sounds amazing. And we'll transpose this into F. That's the goal, to do this block. I have a really busy day today, but I'm hoping to finish the new chorus today. Actually, I'm sorry, tomorrow. Okay, so notice that goes right to our G13, right? So our 2-5. And that's root, flat 7, 3, 13, and 9. So we're doing the most common progression in jazz there, a 2-5, right? 2-5, and then the next block is the E minor. Let's talk about that again. Remember that for an E minor, all you have to do is your root of whatever chord you're trying to build a minor 7, and go up 3 half steps and play a major triad, in this case a second inversion triad. And now you have that G in second inversion, which sounds amazing. And so if you need any kind of minor 7 chord, that's an easy, quick fix, right? It gets you there. Now, we do have the chord formula that says that's root of an E scale. That's the flat 7, that's the flat 3, and that's the 5, right? Really important. And notice again, Rick, and what we've been doing where we roll up to the root, and also we can sort of hammer on the 4th note of the scale to the 5th of E. And that's just a little technique I like to do to give a little spice to my simple chords. All right, so let's do those. Now, in this new course, we have 2 etudes. Remember that there are 4 blocks to this course, 4 measure phrases, and by the end, you play the entire loop. And we've been working on the loops. Now, the way this is written out, it's written out 2 different ways. One is whole notes. Half notes. And the second way is written out just with a little rhythm there. All right, good to see you, Hugh. Awesome. The bookends of iMusicAcademy, always on at the beginning, always on at the end. And Marla is here. Everybody say hey to Marla. Marla, so good to see you, especially at the front end of a lesson. Okay, so again, I'm asking you guys as we get started how these little minor 7s are coming along. Your minor 11 chords. What a nice sound, right? We really love that. And you have D minor with C major. And just remember that you can spread those voicings out. You can do D, A, and F, and you can just roll it up and put a C major in your right hand. Listen to that sound. What a beautiful sound. If I do it in F, which we're doing it in F in just a minute, we're going to take the 4 measure phrase and do it in F. But let's go back to C. Isn't that nice? Listen how nice that C major works over D minor. It gives me the 9th, and the 11th. And remember, sitting on a voicing is simply that. I'm just having fun experimenting. I put those together. Now we're going to get to the 6th chord. So we're doing 2, 5, 3, and we're going to 6th chord, right? Now, what's happening in the 6th chord? That is the questionable chord, right, Rick? Rick was on the fence on this one. This by itself doesn't give it context, right? But if we resolve it, we do 2, 5, 3, and we do this. I could keep going down. So I'm always thinking about a voice leading as we go through these things, but I'm thinking da, da. There's that nice melody on the E minor. All right, everybody good with that? Let's go through each one more time, and then we're going to talk just a little bit about this questionable chord, right? Da, 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 da. Even that, how nice is that? I go with that flat 9, right? Yeah, Doug says he likes the single notes between the chords. Yeah, Doug, I'm glad you like those because we're actually going to spend a little time talking about the notes in between the chords. We're going to talk about some scale options as well. So what I'm doing right now, and yes, we're definitely going to do that, Doug, a more in-depth thing as it relates to chords and scales. I like the way you think. So notice that I'm hitting a lot of flat 9s. Do you hear it? I'm doing that on purpose. In fact, I did a bunch of saxophone streams yesterday and was playing some other instruments as well. But I was on purpose doing a lot of 2, 5, 1, 6 or 2, 5, 3, 6, just showing you how I'm constantly thinking of melody. No matter what I'm doing, I'm thinking here, I'm ba, da, 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 da. Okay? So again, I want you guys to do the same thing. Okay, now let's talk about this chord right here. This is an A13 chord, root, flat 7, 3, 13, and our flat 9. Flat 9 is one of those secret sauce things that you hear all the time in jazz. When you hear this, ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da, very familiar, generic kind of sound. It's using two flat 9s. It's using the flat 9 right here. We go C, 3rd, up to the flat 9, and then come down. There's your flat 9 again. Let me do that again. That's exactly right, Marla. Marla said, is the flat 9 on the dominant chord? Yes, so C, 1 chord, and then the 6th chord, you can use it right there, or in this case, and then we do 2 and then 5, another dominant chord, right? And what's so nice about those is you can plane those as well, as I can go down, as I demonstrated yesterday, right? We had this. And in my right hand, I have a fourth voicing, right? We talked about that yesterday. Kind of a really important thing is now I'm doing dominant chords, but I could go flat 9. Okay, now in block 2 of this course, you have this, right? Let's look at that chord for a second. Even though it's not on the agenda today, it kind of is. Whenever you guys talk about certain things, I decide to go ahead and tell you a couple more things related to this voicing, or these voicings. Block 2 has it descending again, and you had the flat 9 on the bottom here, and the 13. Isn't that a nice crunchy sound, right? So we have... There's the flat 9 on top, flat 9 on G, flat 9 on A, but you have the B flat and the 13. And that's going to sound nice when you keep going down. We'll do that. You can do it so many ways. Let's do it again. Okay, we'll go back to, we're gonna, in just a few minutes, we're gonna transpose this to the key of F today. But notice that we're sitting on this, even this D minor 11. How is it coming for you guys? You guys starting to get to where you say, we know it's a D minor triad. You can go up 3 half steps and play your C major. And you just start to get used to that, but you can also go down a whole step in your pinky, and now you have D minor with C major. If everybody understands that, got it in the chat. And the way I would practice even this first voicing is you can take it around the cycle, and you can say, okay, C up to F, C, D, E, F, 4 notes away, and I go F minor, down a whole step. There it is right there. F minor 11. Keep going around the cycle. I can go B flat minor triad, go down a whole step. That's B flat minor. What about E flat? What about chromatically? If I said, okay, there it is right there, and I go chromatically, I'm going to go up. That's pretty good. What about down? C sharp minor with a B major. Now the good thing about this, when we talk about repetition being your friend, I want you to notice something that starts to happen. Is I can tell you guys right now, build me a D minor 11, and most of you right away are going to say, all right, that's a D minor with a C major, right? And if you agree with that, put yes in the chat. That means we've been doing this, repetition, right? Repetition is your friend. You get to where this is just a sound, a shape. I do want you to be able to say, and that's why I'm including a scale reference sheet with all of your numbers in this new course, but you have root, flat third, fifth of D major, flat 7 of the D major scale, the 9 of the D major scale. Why is it a 9? Because I'm stacking notes on top of that flat 7, and then there's the 11, right? So you start to say, all right, that's the sound, right? That's the sound I want. And again, I can invert it, D minor with C major, and create some really cool sounds there. But you start to think about that. So as I'm improvising, that's a shape, that's a sound. And then you can start focusing on your melodies. And that's all I was doing there, right? It didn't matter what I was doing in the left hand. even though I was trying to stay with some kind of 2-5, 1-6, 3-5, 2-5, 3-6, or 2-5, 1-6. But I was thinking melody. Or I could do 2, flat 9, flat 9, 9. Now watch this. I go, you can go down chromatically to the 6. And once you get a voicing down, whatever voicing it is, chromatically, I could go, or okay, let's transpose this into F. If this is our D minor 11, right? We're getting the shape down, and when we go to F, it's the same. So the key of F. So what's 2, 5, 1 in the key of F? You have 2 is G minor, 5, 1, or 2, 5, 3, 6, or 2, 5, 1, 6. Let me do it again up here. So key of F major, 1 flat, B flat, and you say 2, 5, 1, 6. So our 2 of F is G minor, right? So you put a G minor triad with our F triad. Here we go. And again, in our course, these are written out in chord formulas. Let me just pull this up. This is our draft, our original draft of the course, which this keeps evolving and changing as we get ready to launch. But this right here is really important. So you see how it says the original block is in C, right? It gives you your chord formulas. I love chord formulas because it helps you play in every key. So this right here says G13, root, flat 7, and then there's a comma. The way I like to write things out is your left hand is separated by a comma, and then whatever is in your right hand. So for G13, we have root, flat 7, 3, 13, and 9. And once again, this is in a fourth voicing. A fourth voicing is the shape, B up to E up to A is all intervals of a fourth. And I want everybody to be able to play this interval, or this chord shape, in all keys. You can do so many things with this shape right here, and you will do so many things. Also, with our root, if you need a major 7, go down a half step from your octave, and a flat 7 gets you, or thinking of a flat 7 gets you the flat 7 of the scale. So G up to F gives you that dominant sound. So that right there is our G13. Over C, I have to think about that same thing. C major to C and B flat. And most of you, that would be really easy because we've been doing that a lot. C to flat 7, and then you go 3, 13, and 9. Notice again, this is the interval of a 13 right here. Sorry, a fourth. Okay, so we have this 2, 5 in the key of F. A couple more times. See if you can find it, or at least think through it. And then it does, in the key of C, we have root for, let me go back to the E minor. How do you build an E minor 7? You do root of the scale of E, the flat 7, the flat 3rd, and the 5th. And I like to roll that up. So if I do the same formula for the 6th note the 3rd note in the key of F, it's A minor. And I do a C triad in second inversion. So watch. Root of the A scale, and I say, what's the flat 7? That's G from an A scale. A major has 3 sharps, F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. But I go here, and then I'm go, all right, flat 7 of an A scale, the flat 3rd and the 5th. And I'm doing the same motion here that we did in C major when we went to the 3 chord. And the very last thing that we have to do is, when we did the A13 chord, which is so nice, isn't that so nice? I do root, flat 7, 3, 13, and flat 9. The same formula, which I'll show you here, is written here: root, flat 7, 3, 13, and flat 9. For the key, the 6th chord in F is D, root, flat 7, 3, 13, 9. So notice that this D7 has a B triad in second inversion in the right hand. So if I were to put this together, I would have this. Now, in this key, it doesn't sound as full necessarily as it does in C. And that's that's why I ended up doing a descending bass line with 4 different blocks, is because I want to show you how different areas of the piano, regardless of what key you're in, are going to really help you know what kinds of chords to play and which sound better. It's true that some chords really sound better and keys sound better. I'm getting phone calls here. I'm trying to ignore that. Does that make sense? Yeah, so Rick says a B triad in the right hand. Yes, perfect. Yeah, so let's do it again. And then here we go. B triad in the right hand. Rick's got it. A couple more times, and then we're going to go back to C and talk about a few scales that you guys are going to love, so hang in there. Everybody good? So now you're going to start thinking 2-5, 2-5, 1-6, or 2-5, 3-6 in the key of F, and you say 2. There's our G minor 11. There's our 5 chord, C13. And 3, there's your A minor 7. How do you build that easy A minor 7? Just think of that A with the C major. And you still have your chord formulas. And then I go the 6th chord. That's really nice and bright, isn't it, for D? Let's do it in C again. Okay, again. So if melody is the key, and voice leading is your key, everything that I do when I'm playing solo piano especially, well, anything. If I'm playing a horn line, even though I'm not really a saxophone player, I love to goof around on other instruments, I'm still thinking melody. So everything solo piano. All right, let's talk about a couple of things to do. All I was doing there was thinking scales and flat nines that time, right? I still know what I'm doing. I hear where I want to go, but sometimes it's not a bad idea to think about scales as you're improvising or getting from one thing to the next. So if you do your D minor 11, you know you can play your Dorian scale, all white notes, and I would encourage you to do that. On G13, you can play Mixolydian, all white notes on the piano, right? Everybody good with that? Again, let's do that. And notice that as I'm talking about scales for the last few minutes, why am I telling you about scales? Because we can have all the chords in the world, but we need to know about creating melodies, right? That's what it's really all about, chords and melodies and things that people are going to remember. And when you start getting fluent with your scales, it'll really help you kind of get the ideas that are out in your head. So D minor, and I go D minor, G13. And that's just all white notes. It's really nice to see that in the key of C, right? That's our Mixolydian or dominant scale. And all that is your major scale with your flat 7. So you can practice that as an exercise. And then you go G. Now, the third note, when we go to C major, yes, it's C major, but what about E? If I play an E minor 7, that is our Phrygian scale, so Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, and that is all white notes again, starting on E, so I would practice that. So even though it's this chord, you can practice. Now, something else that I did even over the 2-5-1 is this. I was going, okay, here. Right? I'm surrounding the notes, the enclosure. Whenever you go half-step approaches, they're really nice, aren't they? You can take a simple scale. Now, Phrygian. And then I go to the A7. All right, now a couple of important things for the 6th chord. Now we've been talking about flat 9 for days, right? You go to the flat 9 there. And that requires, or one scale you can use is the diminished scale, right? That is a half step, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, whole step, right? That's a diminished scale and a great scale to turn around so many different ways as you're learning how to play it. And all I'm doing is 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's my fingering. Now this is a quick overview. This is not a full teaching lesson on how to use the diminished. That's a whole different conversation. However, it is important to know that you can start using these scales to go with your chords. There I did a little enclosure on the B, right? And you could do that as a great exercise. I could go diminished, 5th, 3rd, flat 7, 3rd, 9, 3rd, flat 7. Third, flat 9. But even when you do things like this, yeah, I don't expect everybody. That's why the diminished thing is not for today. But what I do want you to understand, the only thing that I meant about the diminished chord is, or the diminished scale, is that the flat 9, you're getting the flat 9. Now, I'm going to show you this as we wrap up, and this will make sense to everybody. When I play an A7 chord, so we go 2, 5, and then we go 3 and 6, this chord right here, right? If I play that right there, and I play our chord, and I go up a half step above A, I get a B flat, right? And so all I have to do is play an A7 chord. Okay? Everybody with me on that? A7, basic A7 chord. Watch what happens when I go up a half step from A. It gives me B flat. It gives me a diminished chord, a B flat diminished chord. That's so crazy, right? A7, go up a half step, and that's just 4 notes: B flat, C sharp, E, and G, which does come out of the scale, but all of those notes from A7 are going to work as you go. There's A7, the root's on there, and then I go up a half step and have a B flat diminished, which gives you that flat 9 sound. So it's like this: and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4, 2 and 3 and 4, and I could go. Flat 9 comes out of that diminished sound, and that's for later, but isn't that a cool sound? So here's your assignment as we wrap up, is we've done this chord block, and you're going to do it in the key of F, and I'll do it one more time. G minor to F. G minor with the F major to C13 to A minor 7 to D13. All right. Vicky says she would like to see each note and identify the chord by reading the score. Too bad, Vicky. You have to use your ear. Just kidding. Actually, what the chord formulas do is they help you play in any key. That's why we're including those. And the reference scale. But let me just tell you guys from experience is that it is nice to be able to have everything written out in every key, right? We've seen that before. I've done that kind of thing many times. Oh, of course, doing it in F. Doing it in F helps. That's all I want you to do. You don't have to do all the scales and the melodies. The reason I was demonstrating that is because I want you to know that you have these chords, and then it's fun to say, all right, there's C major, even over G13, all white notes, and then for E minor, I can do Phrygian. And then for A7, I could play dominant, but since I have that B flat, I have to at least begin thinking about that diminished chord where that flat 9 comes from. And then the next thing is you take these simple melodies and you say, all right, here's the first chord, and I go D minor. Each time I go to a different chord, I am switching scales. I'm going D minor, G13, E Phrygian, and then I could think diminished. And I can approach things by a half step. Vicky says her classical background that hangs you up. Yeah. So what I was saying is you could have everything written out, but what I think is best is when you learn all your major scales, and then we start saying, all right, root, minor third 5, flat 7, 9, 11, and then you put it in here, and then you're going to really get some confidence there. All right, let me say goodbye for today. I hope you guys had a great lesson today. Dad, good to see you on first this morning. Very good. Vicky, good to see you. Rick, Doug. Of course, we have Hugh, who checked in the morning. We'll probably check in again. Marla, awesome to have you on the stream. Guys, we're taking this slow. Remember that I think I acknowledged everybody. Please forgive me if I didn't mention somebody. But remember, this is a journey. Like, we've been doing this first block and getting this down. I just want you to spend time with that. It works over so many songs and any of your jazz songs you think about. Da 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 da. So whatever song you're working on, 2-5-1-6 is our thing we've been doing, or 2-5-3-6, and just get familiar with that. Turn it around so many different ways. Have fun with it, and then you can start working on your melody part things as you're working on it. All right, you have 30 seconds to say bye to each other, and I'll see you in the next one. Good to see you, Hugh, and thanks for checking out as well.